Queen Elizabeth II, Britain's longest reigning monarch, has died after 70 years on the throne. She was 96. Buckingham Palace says she died at Balmoral Castle, her summer residence in Scotland, where members of the royal family had rushed to her side after her health took a turn for the worse. Former Prime Minister Gordon Brown remembers her as a peacemaker, compassionate and dedicated.
And the world, because the Queen was respected around the world. She had given a lifetime of service, and her devotion to duty was an example and inspiration for us all. And as Prime Minister, of course, I was fortunate enough to be able to meet her in different circumstances, including in the weekly audiences, but also at Balmoral, and saw a more relaxed Queen. But I think we are all mourning the fact that somebody who was a constant in our lives has now passed away. And we must always remember that she wasn't just our Queen. She was a mother and a grandmother and a great-grandmother. And my thoughts and prayers are with the whole of the royal family.
And we are seeing all these tributes now, this great outpouring. And although she was a figure of duty, she also had this personal connection with people as well.
As I saw Her Majesty in a whole variety of settings, and what I think came across was her great interest in people. She wanted people to feel at ease. She wanted her guests at Balmoral to relax, enjoy themselves. But even on official events, she wanted people to be at their ease. She had a great interest, a great warmth that came across. One of the last events that she attended in public was the official opening of Thames Hospice, which is in my constituency. And when she came in, there was just that wonderful sense from people of awe and respect. And when she spoke to people, you could see, their eyes lit up, and there was that great warmth that came across from her. And I think that was tremendous. She had a great sense of humour as well. But it was that interest in people. She devoted her life to serving the people of this country.
My family is in mourning. The whole of the country is in mourning. Her Majesty the Queen will be mourned not only by 60 million of the British people, but by the 2.5 billion people in the 54 countries of the Commonwealth. Everywhere I went, Her Majesty was respected, she was admired, she was revered, and we will miss her greatly. There is no monarch who has served so long with such popularity and held in such high esteem and dedicated ourselves so much to the future of our country.
Well, for more on Queen Elizabeth's legacy, as well as what happens to the monarchy now, let's cross live to the UK as our Rise correspondent Dan Warren joins us live. Dan, glad to have you join us. The reaction continues. What more can you tell us aside what maybe Brown has said about her being revered, and then she's compassionate, committed? What more can you tell us?
Well, not only have we heard from former prime ministers of the UK, including a very lengthy statement from Boris Johnson, who was still prime minister on Monday, and of course we've all seen the words beginning of your programme from Liz Truss, but we've heard from so many global leaders in the US, as we saw on your programme earlier. President Biden signed a book of condolence. Even the New York Stock Exchange stopped yesterday afternoon for a minute's silence. And if we look to the East in Australia and New Zealand, they woke up to the news because of the time difference. We've had responses from Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, saying how Queen Elizabeth played a huge part in India's history. And I think if you think of the struggles that the world's seeing, one of the biggest issues is the conflict in Ukraine. And I think evidence to prove how much of a unifier Queen Elizabeth is the fact that President Putin has, in an open letter to the Kremlin, on the Kremlin's website, is an open letter to the King Charles III, basically passing on his condolences and really praising the strength of Queen Elizabeth. So to hear that from the Russian president just proves that basically Queen Elizabeth was not about politics. She was above it all, and as Gordon Brown said, that the former UK Prime Minister, that she was revered not only in the UK, not only in the Commonwealth, but across the globe.
And the announcement of the passing of Queen Elizabeth II did not really come as a shock. I mean, there's been months, if not years, of endless speculation. So maybe there's been some changes already put in place or some planning. What happens next in terms of immediate impact, short-term and long-term impacts?
Well, you're right there, Nkechi. For many years, there's been a plan that's been nicknamed Operation London Bridge, which is essentially a whole number of different elements, from security logistics to the pomp and ceremony that the UK always seems to put on a good display, all part of the Queen's funeral programme, if you like. And Queen Elizabeth was very much involved in making her own arrangements. Now, because of the timings yesterday, some of Operation London Bridge is almost behind, because some events that will be happening later today should have happened yesterday. But we're also dealing with Operation Unicorn. Now, that was designed should Queen Elizabeth pass away in Scotland, which we know she did. So what we can expect today is that King Charles III and the Queen Consort, his wife Camilla, will return to London, where he is expected to address the nation as well as the Commonwealth and the world in basically remembering his mother. We do expect at some stage over this weekend that her body will go to Holyrood House. That's her official residence in Edinburgh. And following a short time there, the body will go to St Giles's Cathedral in Edinburgh, where her coffin will lay in state for people to mark their respects before the royal train will take her body to London. So that's likely to happen over the next few days. We do know that Parliament doesn't normally sit on a Friday or a Saturday, but will be sitting today and tomorrow for members of the Parliament to pay their respects. And also at some stage, every member of Parliament will have to swear in an oath. When they become elected, they have to swear on an oath for the Queen. Obviously, now they have to swear in an oath for King Charles. Everything, as we say at the moment, is quite hazy because of the late announcement last night. But this operation, the Operation London Bridge, is the most expensive security operation that the country is likely to have seen in its lifetime. And no doubt, as this morning goes on, we will know more details.
Well then, Nigeria, being a part of the Commonwealth, has been paying last respects, starting with President Muhammadu Buhari. But what will the Queen's legacy be?
Well, I think just as you mentioned, Commonwealth nations as well as nations throughout the globe, especially if you think about the UK at the moment, it's going through a very tough time politically, energy crisis, but and its relationship with Europe. One of the first global leaders, Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, was one of the first to make their condolences, and the Eiffel Tower, the lights were switched off. The fact is, Queen Elizabeth, for many people, bearing in mind 70 years reign, has been a constant in so many people's lives, that her legacy will be seen as a unifier, as somebody that through turbulent times managed to basically reign with grace and dignity. And the fact that we're hearing from people like the Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, the founder of Microsoft, Bill Gates and Sir Richard Branson, all business figures, saying that all talk about the Queen's personal ambition of pride for her country, for her Commonwealth, and the fact that we're all hearing about this cheeky sense of humour she had. It's going to be very difficult for people to imagine, and I think this is what's happening in the UK at the moment. Especially, my colleagues have been at Buckingham Palace and speaking to mourners there, that they just can't imagine what life is going to be like without her, because she was always this vision of hope, even during the pandemic, even last year at the G7 that was held here in the Royal Duchy of Cornwall, where I am now. The fact that she was brought down and all of the world leaders instantly, no matter what all the difficult subjects they were talking about, that stopped for a moment. It was just this figure of unity, and I think her vision and her legacy of unity and all the 500 plus charities that she was a patron of will carry on that spirit for many years to come.
All right, Dan, in about 45 minutes, how will the monarchy change?
Well,
45
obviously,
seconds, rather.
Obviously, we now have a new king, King Charles the Third. Prince William has now become the Duke of Cornwall as well as the Duke of Cambridge, and taking over there in terms of titles. In terms of how they will progress, we do know that Prince Charles wants to honour his mother's legacy, but he also wants to modernise it so that anybody in a younger generation here in the UK and the Commonwealth may think, is that should the monarchy change, he wants to make it current and for the multimedia or the digital era, as he calls it.
Thank you so much, Dan Waring, for your take this morning.